I think, for Carnage early on in the match, but he's a great player. I have no doubt he'll rise to the occasion.
I mean, as we take a look at the vetoes here, I just want to point out that I think it's hilarious you guys are talking trash about Carnage. I mean, you probably wouldn't say this to him at LAN, right? Because he's jacked. And not only that, he hangs out at the chillest restaurants wearing the freshest clothes with the hottest dudes. So nonetheless, I'm pulling from my main man, Carnage. I really think I think he wants it. I can see it. He's got a good heart for this.
If I were going to make a prediction, yeah, I'd have to go with Carnage. As much as I've been impressed with Ruleth on the way up here, and I talked to all these players, after the matches and wish them good luck and everything. But I think if you put my feet to the fire, so to speak, yeah, I would go with Carnage in this in a competitive match.
Now, those vetoes turned out, I suppose, accordingly. I mean, it looked as though I think Carnage got the maps he wanted. Are you feeling confident going into this one?
Yeah, I think as a top duelist, you should feel confident on all the maps. I think going into the tournament, when you were asking me about preparation, being over all the maps. So let's move over to the action.
Well, yep, it's about that time. Take it away, Blue.
All right, thanks very much. And it is indeed time to jump into our next series here and get to find out who our second player moving into QuakeCon is going to be, Carnage or Ruleth. And Carnage is going to be starting it off here, trying to take a battle at range on the Ranger, but Ruleth, fortunately getting the better of him here and almost knocking out Carnage right within those first few seconds. In fact, over here on Ruleth's character now, he's going to try to dive right back in to finish the kill, but missed where he was headed, and now he's going to try to sneak this off, and if he'd stayed there for a few more seconds, he might have been able to get that shot that was needed. Failed out a little bit too soon, though, and off of that luck, Carnage is going to be able to survive.
And who could have known how that fight would have gone down, but both players are going to be kind of kicking back over to Mega and Armor, respectively. Yeah, it's a real joy seeing Ruleth playing out with Slash here. I mean, not only because Slash is a lot of fun to watch, but it's also a bit of a challenge for players who actually don't really get much of an opportunity to duel against Slash. But right now, Ruleth, rocket jumping up for a railgun, going very quiet here to see if Carnage hops over towards the bridge and opens himself up to a rail. We do have that Dyro coming up, and Carnage going incredibly aggressive here, but the defensive rockets from Ruleth are solid, as is his pickup of the armor here. Now, Carnage can go back and get this Mega at will. There won't really be an opportunity for Ruleth to do any free damage here, but it looks like he's going to be looking for the play down to the pillar armor anyway. Lost the shot on the rail, but he didn't lose anything on account of it.
So now, hanging out over here on the top bridge, waiting out for a push from Carnage when the Swan's about to come back up, as they're still relatively close, only a few seconds away from each other, as Carnage still has great control over the Mega Health, and Ruleth currently dominates the armor. Looks like both these players are going to be backing away as they wait for those Swans to come back up. They'll both pick it up, and then Ruleth's going to have a slight timing advantage by a couple seconds here, but you can see he's actually delaying it right now. So he's only delayed it, though, to basically even those timers out. So they're right back on to being right next to each other here.
So we've only seen the one very small fight between them so far, and other than that, they've just been stacking up on their own natural items here. And now we have Ruleth popping back through the teleporter, looking for the shot, and actually getting a free rail off of Carnage. That rocket just wasn't quite fast enough to do the retaliatory damage, but here we go, the play on the armor. It's going to come down to the LG, and the LG from both of them is solid, but there's the fadeaway rail from Carnage, and a really clutch one as well. If he had missed that rail, he would have been in real trouble. Only 7 HP, and even now, he doesn't exactly have an easy road ahead of him. He's got now another Ranger to contend against, and he's incredibly low.
Yeah, thankfully he got himself the full armor one. He's still 25 HP, so he's still in a bit of a risky position here, especially considering his opponent's right up on top, but Ruleth's been missing quite a few of these close encounters, unfortunately. He's made just a split-second decision to go the other way. That's costed him potential opportunities to actually knock out Carnage as a result of that. You'll remember before, he basically had Carnage dead to rights on the lower staircase seconds ago, and almost was able to take him out, but he bailed away from that position as Carnage has remained quiet the whole time, and now into another fight they'll go, with Ruleth hitting some nice shots and putting Carnage back down to a very low amount of HP. Thankfully, he's able to recover most of it pretty quickly, and in a second, he's going to have the Mega Health pick up too.
Perfect rails onto the bridge, but that allows Ruleth to hold onto a stack. We still have Carnage getting a grab for his own Mega, so they're both going to be fairly well off here. But once again, both players showing a lot of respect to each other's shots, not wanting to get into a close-range engagement just yet. But here comes a little bit more aggression from Carnage up onto the bridge. With that dire orb, Ruleth is going to see it coming a long way out, but what does he do in response? We get back into a similar situation as before, but there's the now exit from Ruleth, making sure that he's not going to be overcommitted to this fight. With armor coming back up, and we're actually taken by Carnage. He's going to be moving his way back over towards Mega, a Mega that Ruleth should already be grabbing and thinking about armor instead.
Just barely able to escape it. Now, Ruleth, he's down to his base HP. Almost no armor to work off of here, so he has to run away from the fight. Definitely is not going to be able to take it in the current state of affairs. And Carnage, well, he'll just patiently sit back and wait for this. He was hoping his opponent would try to hop back up, but he's not getting any of that. And he definitely has this health miss time. That's still a good 10 seconds away.
That is actually really nasty. I mean, fortunately, because both items are on 30 seconds, it's not going to take him too long to realize what's up, but he's still going to be able to get it here, and even for his timing error, he's not going to be punished all that much. It's still going to turn into a trade, and actually, that still keeps the items maybe about 10 seconds apart. This allows Ruleth maybe to go back, get an armor for free. If Carnage wants to show up on the bridge, cool, but then Ruleth has the opportunity to get back towards Mega. But here, this is a really nasty fight to get into. It's really difficult to get off that back wall, but man, between the rockets, the Dire Orb, and the LG, Carnage is just incredibly consistent, and that is 2 frags down. Just Galena now for Ruleth here in the first round.
I was worried about Carnage going into that corner as well, the power-up corner there. That's where he got taken out quite a bit by Pitt in his first matchup today, back over in the round of 32. So now he was able to hold well in that position, though. With that second kill, his opponent's been put into essentially what is now an impossible position. Ruleth only has 20 seconds now to get 2 kills and bring this down to a 1v1, which is probably not going to happen. He's really just trying to hunt down Carnage, and Carnage is being smart. He's trying to avoid this fight at all costs, just trying to delay for as long as possible, and you saw that as well. Almost could have taken him out right there, the Dire Orb, but just missed the opportunity towards it. So 3 seconds, though, the round's going to end, and it is going to be Carnage that takes it via the timer.
Well played out of Carnage there, and actually, yeah, you can see just the stress that this match has put onto him. I mean, it's not a match where you could just go full +4 the whole time and enjoy these sick frags. You've really got to take your time, make sure you're stacked up, and make sure you know where your opponent's coming from.
We'll go quickly into round 2 now, where Carnage does have the advantage to play off of. Ruleth had a great start back in round 1, though. He was just unable to transition that into an actual kill. So we'll see if he's going to be able to do that again, or if now Carnage will be able to take early control. Should be able to hear Ruleth down below inside of the LG room, so he can start to try and lock him down, read into his movement, and almost makes a fatal mistake there, but thankfully gets quickly back up on the jump pad and gets out of that hot seat.
Both players kind of had the same idea, looking for the spam shot, and actually really good reaction time out of Ruleth as Carnage dropped down. Neither player does much damage, but again, that's sort of been the theme here so far. Both players are pretty well aware of what their opponents are thinking, but when it comes down to the item plays, Carnage has taken the edge just a little bit more, and that allows him a little bit more leeway on these rocket fights, and this now turns into a really dire situation for Ruleth. Not only has Carnage taken the frag, but he's taken full control of both Mega and Armor, allowing him to spend some of it down here at the Armor by the shotgun. A nasty place to get caught indeed.
And now Carnage is really moving in to take full control here. The first kill he gets just completely disorients Ruleth, putting him into a position where he's not even able to properly track down Carnage's movements on the jumps there, so he keeps whiffing the rockets, and that makes it easy for Carnage to get the first kill, and then very aggressively moves in to get the second one. So now Ruleth is back down on the Galena again, a champion which is not going to be as powerful on this map comparatively to some of the others. There's not as many surprise corners where those totems can be placed down. It's why we see that champion picked a little bit more on like Blood Run instead of over here in Blood Covenant, because this is a much more open map. That's why we see a lot more like rail deals and all that. But there's still a couple spots you can see in the corner there where the totem can be useful, at the very least, putting him in positions, kind of tucking him away, where Carnage may not end up going towards that. Ruleth can use them as healing hotspots if he needs them too.
Yeah, I mean, the point about the totems, it's much easier to get the full usage out of them if you use Galena first. That's usually when things aren't quite so aggressive. But now Carnage, I mean, he's taken a few rails here. He's had to back up a little bit, and he's got a surprise bit of LG here from Ruleth, and he's done a lot of damage, but they are both going to be backing off. We have Carnage taking away Armor once again. 15 seconds until Mega means this could be a rough fight here at the pillars for Ruleth. He's looking for a way back up, or at least a way to heal back up before committing to this Mega. Still looking for an angle play from Carnage, expecting him to drop in, and he might actually be giving up the Mega entirely just to make sure this fight does not go down poorly for him.
So for Ruleth, once again, back down behind the situation. Has a little bit more time, of course, now in this second round to try and make up for his mistakes earlier on and trade out these kills, but he's got to do it quickly. Keeps letting Carnage pick up these stacks. He just got the Mega Armor. Health's coming in about 15 seconds. He's plenty of time to navigate around the map and look for a pickup there. Ruleth is going to try to get into his way, but seems to misread the position initially, so only knocks about 50 damage off of him. Now he can dive back out, but he's having trouble tracking down Ruleth as well, so Ruleth's going to go up the jump pad. That's risky, though, because the LG's there, but thankfully Carnage knocks himself off, and with that, Ruleth is able to get the Mega Health, so he's got something going for him. He's now going to try to continue this fight. Carnage doesn't take the port on the Dire Orb, so just stays in that corner, is unfortunately going to eat all that LG damage from Ruleth, giving him this first kill.
He knew he had the fight, he knew he had the opportunity, and he went straight in for it and was rewarded. I mean, he still had a totem in his back pocket, but oh no! He thought that Carnage had already left the bridge area, but he comes right back in, nailing him from behind, and that's going to be a very quick round two. I mean, I think the stress is eased off of Carnage a little bit here.
A fatal misread that costs him a lot at the end of the day, so Ruleth is now going to drop round two, and as you just said, Carnage feeling good about himself, even laughing at that. I heard it from across the room, how he was able to outwit his opponent there towards the end of it. So he feels good about himself now, and just one more round is needed for him to take a clean sweep 3-0 run in the first map of this series.
Now, I believe that Ruleth, if he can get a good bearing on where Carnage is attacking from, he'll be able to do some significant damage with Slash here. But He's taking a lot of that HMG damage across the way from the teleport. It's going to be a playthrough, but the Dire Orb trickery has no bounds here from Carnage, as Ruleth is knocked down to 21 health and really needs to get out of this fight. He's still not sure where Carnage has escaped to, and actually dives right down onto him. He doesn't want to be there. He tries to extract. It actually makes it out of there, doing 40 damage in the meantime. So Carnage, he was really fine that whole time, but Ruleth had to react to so many things.
Very odd fight. For some reason, Carnage, despite having a massive advantage there, never really seemed to want to dive in and complete the kill, so kept holding back, and now Ruleth's been able to recover in a pretty okay amount. He's got the mega health, he's got full armor stacked for the current time. Unless he can get himself the full armor back over there on the other side. And now Carnage just looking for a couple rail shots here. He's got Ruleth down very low again. He's only recovered to 25 HP, and shooting yourself with the rocket's not going to help you in that case there, as Carnage is able to finish him off with the SMG, closing out on the first kill of the round again.
And once again, switching over to the machine gun, such a great idea when you know your opponent is up against the ropes, down to 8 health, down to 10 health. It doesn't take much. You just need one moment of line of sight to them to finish them off, and that's exactly what we saw at Carnage here. So we have that slash taken down once again, for the last time actually here, potentially, on Blood Covenant. But Carnage, it's going to be a Ranger v Ranger fight now. Carnage already taken away Mega. We have armor in the hands of Ruleth. Carnage has lost sight of where Ruleth is at the moment. He got sight of him up there at Rocket Launcher. It doesn't look like it, but he saw the explosion here, so he's looking for an angle on a rail, trying to get some free damage before committing to the next one.
Carnage hopping around over into the other room now for the mega health. He's been able to pick that back up. Armor's still up too, but Ruleth's not interested in that right now. He definitely wanted to look for some extra damage on the Carnage. Forced into going for the armor pickup, however, he's going to be able to easily escape from the fight. Carnage at the moment not even looking likely to try and take that, just kind of holding on to himself here. Now Ruleth dives into the action, of course. Good rockets from Carnage, but poor weapon choice. Ruleth is able to easily win out that fight with just LG spam.
Yeah, I mean, he had such a great opportunity to just leverage those angles and just bear down on Carnage there. That'll tie it back up. For the first time in a while here, we're actually seeing Carnage switch over to Nyx, as Ruleth is going to be taking away Mega. They might be clashing back up here at Rocket Launcher, something that Ruleth would actually find pretty handy right now, but baiting a Nyx into a play for the armor is always worthwhile, at least until you get railed off the bridge. That's never fun.
So for Ruleth, still trying to find himself in an advantage position here against Carnage. He's tied it back up. He's brought it down to that point. But now he needs that extra kill to keep himself in the map, because he hasn't been putting up the greatest fight so far. He's been lagging behind quite a bit. It's been Carnage with his aggressive playstyle that's been able to dominate the playing field here. And now, open rail fight, but Carnage wants nothing to do with it in the long term. Backs away, he wants that mega health pickup. Ruleth missing into the rail, and now he's got to go back to be able to make sure that he gets the armor pickup.
Missing that rail makes the next minute or so for Ruleth really, I don't want to say disastrous, but it very well could be. I mean, allowing Nyx to get the Mega, it doesn't really give Nyx that much of a bonus, but the fact that you didn't get it especially hurts a Ranger here. But he's finally able to get that one rail in, and is looking for the play through the corner from Carnage as he's looking for this next armor. I mean, if he sticks up here, he knows that that next Mega will be going over to Carnage for free, and it looks like as he realizes that, nice little dodge there, by the way, he wants to do a little bit of extra damage. But at this point, they're both going to be backing off and looking for another opportunity.
Oh, Ruleth. Oh, I think Carnage spotted him there, and Ruleth knows that as well, so he's going to dive out of this fight back over to where the small armor is and try to go for the pickup there. Still got rails, but trying to work with the rockets at long range here. He's got to be a little bit careful now. As he did pop the stealth, didn't realize it, so he's going to get hit by a massive amount of LG spam. He's trying to return the favor now, but he's down at 36 HP. Closes up fight, tries to reverse it. Not going to happen. Carnage takes another kill, and he's brought Ruleth down to his last champion, potentially of this map.
Down there in the choke point in that doorway, it really could have gone either way, but like you said, Carnage doing a lot of that initial damage. He definitely had a big advantage there. I mean, it worked out well for him, and even though it didn't really leave him all that low, he's already got Ruleth down to bare minimum amount of health, and that will close out Blood Covenant.
It was a 10 HP right before we saw that last tick of damage come in there, so the odds for Ruleth were not looking that great, and it's Carnage that dominates throughout most of this first map here and takes quick control of it. Now only one more will be needed, and he'll be able to push on, earning his slot at QuakeCon for the Quake World Championships.
Now, we know that Carnage's favorite map, of course, is Blood Covenant. Even though it was, I mean, the only map he took against Pitt in the online qualifier, here he was looking much stronger on land, and now even online against Ruleth. So it looks like his relationship with Blood Covenant is very solid indeed. But as we go into the next map, we're going to have to see if anything changes for Ruleth.
I believe we switch it over to Blood Run for our second map, if I recall things correctly. So we're going to have to see how that plays off now. That one's going to obviously have a lot more history coming into play there. And hopefully Ruleth's going to be looking a little bit stronger on that map too, as he did seem kind of lost. Lost may be a poor choice for words there, but it did seem like he was kind of outmatched, I guess would be a better way to play that one out in a lot of those situations against Carnage, and he really just had him locked down a lot of those times, especially in like the second round.
Yeah, but it looks like we are instead going over to Corrupted Keep, and a lot of that lockdown came from Carnage's consistent rails, which is now an element that's been removed. We see a lot of that Anarchy and Slash play coming out of Ruleth, and this might be a map where he's allowed to leverage those abilities a little bit more often. I mean, it could be some really tense, close-range fights there on Corrupted Keep, and I'm sure that Carnage is fine with it as well, but it looks like that is really Ruleth's preference.
Yeah, so jumping over into the Corrupted Keep, obviously a lot of change up there, a much smaller map overall, and we have the rails completely removed from the equation now as well, so that changes up the dynamic a little bit as well, because players are going to have to focus more on rockets and LG work to be able to win that. And that was actually one of the stronger suits there for Ruleth, the way that he was able to play that out. Actually, he had actually pretty good weapon choice in a lot of the duels, and that was one of the few times he was actually able to win out in the 1v1s versus Carnage, or he made superior weapon choice, and that's going to come into play a lot more here on Corrupted Keep, as you can't just rely on the rails anymore.
Absolutely, and another thing outside of the fights themselves that we saw in Blood Covenant was that the positioning and movement through the map was a pretty big difference between the two. We saw Ruleth really committing to a lot of fights and then ending up in a situation where maybe he didn't know he was going to get there, didn't want to be there. And here in Corrupted Keep, that's going to be even more of an issue. There are a handful of areas where if you get stuck into a fight, it's really difficult to get out of there.
Well, we'll take a look now and see if any of the champion picks are going to be any different here. So far, looking pretty straightforward. These guys were keeping it to, like was before, a pretty even kit. There was no like really heavy tanky champions coming into the fray. There was all kind of middle of the line, and then they had one or two squishier champions added in there as their first picks, because of the fact that on respawn, a lot of the times players will go for that more tankier champion as their second pick, just so they can spawn and they don't have to worry about getting immediately refragged off of their respawn if they get put into a bad position or something like that. And then of course they'll pick the initial spawn with the squishier champion because there's not as much risk. They usually have that good 5 or 6 seconds to build something up before their opponent is going to end up trying to jump on them and get an early kill or something like that.
Absolutely, and if we see a consistent play out of Galena from Ruleth, this is actually a much better map for that. And there we go, we have Galena, Sorlag, that tankier character you were talking about, as well as Ranger. Carnage sticking with the nice bread and butter, Visor, Nyx, Ranger, and we're going to have to see how they get ready up here.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, this is going to be a really interesting composition that's been built up on Ruleth, because he does have a lot more to just mass overall built up for the health pool and whatnot. The Sorlag is going to be really good if you can get close up with it as well. Carnage is stuck with a very similar layout to what he had in the previous map here as well. He's got the Visor in play, along with the Nyx still coming out behind his Ranger. So we're going to have to see how his plays out, as he's chosen a very different. His is a lot more kind of even, a lot more along the middle line here in terms of his picks. So we have two very different play styles, two very different compositions, and we're going to have to see how that plays out as round one is now getting started.
And Carnage getting the spawn on that rocket launcher gives him a lot of ability to do a lot of damage right off the bat, knowing that Ruleth will once again need that rocket launcher in his own hands in order to do any real retaliatory damage. So Carnage is going to be leaving that fight thinking, all right, he's got a rocket launcher now, I've done my job, I've done the damage, now I can go back and get an LG and use that to punish my opponent as well. So the aggression is still coming out of Carnage, but as he drops down here, loses sight of Ruleth just a little bit, but it doesn't take much longer to force that frag.
He's having fun with that as well. Just waits up for the armor and he's going to spam the gauntlet there, going a little bit after he gets the first kill. So he's got that. He's actually got quite a few extra pickups there too as he runs away from it. So he's got good stack built up for himself already. He's got lighting, he's got the rockets play off of here, but he gets a little bit aggressive going in for that one. Ruleth with a nice combination of not only his LG, but also the spit that you could see on the ground there too, to be able to trade that back out and bring us back down to a 2v2 now.
A little bit of Vomit goes a long way, and he has definitely got Carnage up against the wall here. And that is going to be a very short-lived Visor there. We're seeing Carnage down to Nyx, which can actually be a pretty decent play against Sorlight. You can cancel that spit damage just by going into Ghost Walk, but it's going to be all about forcing Carnage into that situation here pretty soon, as Mega's going to be coming up in 2 seconds. We've got Carnage raining down the rockets on Ruleth as he's trying desperately to spit back up, but there's the grab for Mega. A nice RJ to get out of that situation, and that means that the armor is going to be the next thing to play for as both players kind of reposition over there, looking for the fight.
Ruleth is still trying to hunt down exactly where Carnage's heading is. Nyx can often be a tricky character to try and lock down here. Good LG work being done, and he's got a pretty big health pool advantage to play off here because he is sitting on the Sorlag. That's going to go away pretty quickly, though, as he didn't realize that Carnage went back in for the re-engagement. So off of that, Ruleth is still going to be able to take control there, and he'll be able to win out round one.
A traded frag like that is totally fine if it's the last frag you need in that round, and that rocket certainly did the job for round one. A very quick one, just like we saw in Blood Covenant there. These guys are wasting no time getting into it, but as they continue this fight, that may change, as now we have Ranger v Ranger. A little bit of a change up there for Ruleth here as well. So Carnage It's going to be back over towards rocket launcher. Ruleth getting his grab of both LG and Nailgun. This room coming back in, I'm not sure I like it so much. I mean, it's good to get information about which way your opponent is going, either towards Mega or Armor, but if they decide to force a fight, it can be very difficult to extract from. So Ruleth going back outside instead, and he still doesn't have a rocket launcher of his own. Carnage has to know that, and has to know that it's an advantage that he can press against Ruleth right now, especially and literally with the rockets up against that wall.
So there's Carnage once again winning the Ranger v Ranger fight at the start. It's no surprise there, given that that's his main champion to play off of. So he is going to take the initial advantage to work off here. This is where Ruleth got revenge before, though, was on the Sorlag, and this is where he pretty much just dominated and completely spun the round back on its heels. So Carnage's got to be a little bit careful. He doesn't want to get too aggressive. Because of how small this map is, the spit can become very, very powerful if you're not careful. Now, there it is. He's going to dive back in. They did the dot. I think he missed the connection on most of them. He might have hit one or two, but now trying to move in. He's got him low, but actually, no. He's going to get taken down by Carnage, and the dot is already expired, so there's no chance of a kill from the grave.
Ruleth was looking for those rockets. I mean, it seems so easy when your opponent is down there on the floor. Just get a little bit of splash damage and do all the work, but the LG from Carnage was punishing every attempt to make that rocket happen. This time, the rockets are a bit more on point, burning off a lot of that Mega, also denying a good angle from Carnage's Dire Orb. So he's going to be working from the bottom of the map here. Still 10 seconds before Armor comes back up, so showing up here could be a nasty mistake for Carnage if he decides to stick around, especially if they're going to be trading rockets. Oh no, but that forces Ruleth into a suicide, tying it back up 1v1.
You know, that almost happened back on the last map too, when he was on his last champion. I think it was actually when it might have been one of his first ones actually, but there was another duel where he actually shot the wall and hit himself accidentally, and that almost led to his death. So that's something that we've seen pretty commonly from Ruleth, so we've got to watch out for that a little bit more.
It's been
get a little bit unlucky with those shots.
It's been a constant thing in Quake since the very beginning. You know, you take a rocket, you get bounced into a wall, and you fire your own rocket not reacting quickly enough, or not reacting quickly enough, and you end up punishing yourself there. But as we go into the next round, we have things quieting down a little bit here as Carnage is grabbing that rocket launcher. We still have Ruleth not quite getting that spawn and still has to work his way back into getting a rocket launcher, getting an LG of his own. He's working with everything he's got, but you know what he's got his sights set on. Doing a little bit of damage with the nailgun here, but here comes the precision punishment from Carnage. And that's going to turn into armor control for him.
The timer's going to remain pretty much at the same exact point here, only a second or two apart, so not really room to run around and grab both of them along, as both players agree to each take one power up for the time being, which is what they've done for this run of it. Carnage got himself the Mega Armor, and for Ruleth, he's gone over and he's been able to pick up the Mega Health to play with. And Ruleth trying to take this duel. His kit's not looking too great, though. He's trying to do some work at range, but unfortunately just doesn't have the capability to really do that, so he needs to close the gap between these two players a little bit. And there we go. This is where he made a poor weapon choice before, though, is when he chose to continue working with the rockets instead of switching over to the LG. So now this time, down on the bottom floor, he was looking to play with the LG, but Carnage already bailed out from the fight as he wanted to go get that full armor pickup, so he chose not to take it.
And that was a good read when Carnage was back behind the LG statue as well. Once you realize your opponent has gone out the armor side, you can cut them off, coming back into mid from rocket launcher, and see if you can get some potential good damage and free damage, actually, as Carnage lands a nice rocket and immediately Dire Orbs back up to mostly just deny the health from Ruleth, making sure that he won't have those recovery items. But the LG finally turning things back around for him with only 4 health. We're gonna have to see if he can pick up 25s fast enough to not get capped off by Carnage immediately.
Got a couple of the bubbles going there for himself. And there's a nice run you can do here into the second room as well. And there's the 2 more on the right. So Ruleth has that run, gets it. Carnage didn't really try to contest him. He focused a lot more building up his stack earlier on. So with that, Carnage, it's great. He's back into this game. He has all of his armaments and whatnot built up here. Just unfortunately didn't realize, I guess, how low his opponent was and did not try to chase down that kill. So now Ruleth's got a chance to pick up a second kill too. And there you go. He easily locks down that Nyx with use of the LG and is able to take control of a second frag, now bringing Carnage down to his visor as the last champion standing for this round.
And this is the first time we've seen Visor survive more than a few seconds here up against Ruleth, but this is a much more consistent and solid round coming out of him so far. We hear the Visor ability pop there as Ruleth is going to be backing up, getting back into armor, but this is, again, a bad room to get stuck in if you cannot get out of that fight. But it looks like that's going to allow Carnage to make sure he's got an LG of his own coming back in, potentially for Mega. We're seeing Ruleth do a little bit of a lap around the map, making sure that he knows where his opponent isn't before he finds him directly where he knows he is.
Still trying to read into this one. We often see this little circle here between Rocket Room, Boneyard, and the Mega Health Room. A bit of a game of ring around the rosy between players. They try to figure out where exactly their paths are. There's a nice bounce from Ruleth. Poor follow-up, though. He wasn't really able to get that much damage, unfortunately. Over to the LG to try to close out the jump pad, though, unfortunately, messes him up, so Carnage finally trades at a kill here, bringing Ruleth down to 2 and over to his Sorlag now.
Coming up a jump pad like that is never a way out of a fight. It is offering a lot of free damage over to your opponent, especially if they've already got LG out. So we've got one frag taken off of Ruleth here, but he's still only got to kill this Visor to take a round under his belt here. But both Mega and Armor will be up. We're going to be seeing Carnage delaying a little bit as Ruleth already takes away that armor. But now has to come back into it, just like you said, playing a little bit of a ring around the rosy, trying to anticipate where their opponents are going. But when both of the major items are gone, there's not actually a whole lot to play for on this map. I mean, if you're both stacked up, you're both feeling confident, it comes down to just the head games, opening your ears, opening your eyes.
Again, looking for his right to initiate here against Carnage. They can try to finish off this round and take a 2-1 advantage. Unfortunately, switching off a little bit too slowly, so Carnage is going to be able to win that. Still has the dot sitting on him. You can see it brought him down to 36 HP. But he survives. He's going to get the Mega Health pickup. Now he's going to be able to pop off his ability as well. And he's brought this back now. He's brought it down to a 1v1.
That totem almost did a number on him as well. It's going to be a lot of time before Mega comes back up. This is a fight that neither of them need to be at, but that is be Ruleth getting that last second rocket to take that round home.
It was almost looking like Carnage was going to be able to get that final kill too there towards the end of it as well. He had his opponent locked down. He jumped over the first rocket, successfully dodging it, but unfortunately got locked into the corner. The rocket work from Ruleth in that just, you know, basically that was the end of it right there. Whoever got the better rockets first was going to be able to win, and Ruleth came out on top.
Absolutely. I mean, when you have both items taken away, some of these really dangerous areas turn into a safe way to cross the map, and it could have gone that way, but we're gonna have to see if Ruleth can put a third one home and get a map under his belt here. It's gonna be a really nasty fight out of Carnage, and he just barely squeaks out of it with 3 HP. He's gonna have to, well, actually find a lot of these health pickups before the next Mega comes back up. This is an opportunity for Ruleth to take that Sorlag and, just like we saw in the first round, do an incredible amount of damage, denying the play. But for the moment, he's just content knowing that Carnage is gonna be in the 225 room, making sure that he's not gonna have an easy way back in. But oh my god, that rocket completely shutting down Ruleth and making sure that he cannot put aggression on that armor.
But now Carnage still trying to push himself back in here to also try to attempt to get control of the Mega. He's missed that mark by quite a few seconds here. His opponent's already picked that up on the Sorlag, but still can still do some decent damage, as we just saw there.
Absolutely. So Carnage moving back up towards the platform armor. We're going to be seeing Ruleth actually over towards the heavy armor. They're going to be rocketing from across the arena. Neither of them getting that close just yet. There's 5 seconds to the Mega. Here comes an early dive, and here comes Ruleth around the corner. A little bit of a missed peek there from Carnage, but the response on his LG is incredibly good. Fortunately for Ruleth, he can recover it back over to the armor at will.
He's going to try again to meet up his opponent back over by where the armor suit spawns. Unfortunately, missed on that chance. Was not able to completely lock it down. So now he's going to play cautiously again. Sits back, patiently waiting for when Ruleth does reveal himself, when he can actually have an advantage on that duel. He's playing very passively right now, so has to line up for that next engagement. We do have power-up spawns coming in again here. So Carnage is going to pick that up. He's going to try to port quickly over now, but he's going to finally take his engage, but the spit hits him big time. He's going to hit it by that dot. Now he falls back, so he's going to wait for that to expire so we can go back in. The rocket work is not there, though, and Ruleth is able to combo the spit along with the LG to pick up the kill for himself.
That was a fantastic plan out of Carnage, throwing the Dire Orb across the map before going for Mega, making it a potential blitz to get both the Mega and the armor. However, Ruleth was already there, and when you see that Dire Orb coming, you know exactly how to set up, and Ruleth had a really great response there. Now he's looking for maybe another frag here, but just content for items right now. But no, Carnage is coming back in, pushing in onto the Mega, doing a ton of damage, making Ruleth back out of there, but that's still going to turn into a trade. It's still going to turn into a lot of LG damage that Carnage took there.
At the very least, Carnage does get back one of the 2 power-ups, though, so he has that control back under his belt for the time being. The timers are still partially split. The health's going to be the one that comes up first, as Ruleth's going to want to try to control it if he wants to get back to a more aggressive play style here to keep Carnage on the ropes a little bit. So that's definitely going to be the big fight that'll be happening in about 10 seconds. However, Carnage with some great LG work, bringing Ruleth's health pool down incredibly low. He did manage to hit him with the spit, but not head-on, only hit him with the pools that end up going onto the ground there, so just hit him with the dot. It's not going to really affect for too much damage if you don't combo it with your LG. So Carnage doesn't really end up taking that much. Only gets hit for about 50 or so from that last fight.
This is the most Blood Covenant looking corrupted keep I've seen in a long time. It's going to come down to LG v LG, and Carnage is going to be taken out.
And with that, Carnage falls, loses his second character now, and he's going to end up on the Nyx to try and pull off a 1v2. Ruleth still well and alive on that Sorlag. Didn't even take that much damage from the final fight, so he's able to easily get himself back with a full HP. In a moment, he's going to have Mega Health spawning too, so we can go for the pickup on that one. He's probably going to have to hand over the full armor to his opponent. Timers, again, still evenly aligned, so it's probably going to remain at 1-for-1 for some time here until Carnage can try to change up the dynamic. As he is getting aggressive, pop the stealth. Ruleth saw that. So we should know where this push is coming from, and he even hits his opponent with a spin too, which is going to do a lot more to a Nyx. Ruleth ultimately on the sword leg has so much more health, so in an open 1v1 duel right there, that is going to allow for Ruleth to take control and take this map 3-1.
Carnage's LG was fantastic there, but when your opponent is able to time the spit just as you're coming out of the Ghost Walk, it's really difficult to put up against that. And again, in that lower armor room, it's very difficult to extract yourself from that fight. When you're up on the stairs, up against the corner, you don't have a lot of options.
All right, so Ruleth bringing a little bit of fight to himself there, bringing back some of his honor from the last map, where unfortunately in those last few rounds, he really wasn't putting up much of a fight at all. It was all Carnage right there, but unfortunately, he lost some of his own prowess going on to this second map, so now it's going to go over to a third and final map to determine who is going to get this slot at QuakeCon.
All right, well, we're going from Rockets and Rails to, or Rockets and LG to Rockets, LG, and Rails as we go into a third map. Do we know what that was going to be? I thought we had it called out to us at some point.
I think that one is, we'll have to see. It's going to be on Blood Run now, so I had mistaken it earlier. I thought Blood Run was the second map. It's actually the third map. That
well, you end up being a bit of a psychic here. You knew it was coming.
I just predicted it, even though we saw it on the screen. You see it now as well, guys, down below there. You can see the full map, so we've already played out the first and second one, and this is the third and final pick as well. The players agreed upon to play this one, so this is one that they're both okay going on to, and they both feel relatively confident to play off of. So this is going to be an interesting one now to see how Blood Run plays. So that's a classic Quake map, of course, ported into this new version.
And of course, the Rails coming back into it. We're going to have to see how they play on some of these items compared to Blood Covenant, where both of the items are trappable, but for the most part, you can kind of, let your opponent get one, you get the other, you kind of stay safe. There's a lot of opportunity to get both items very quickly here. You go from armor, you drop down to mega, you can be very aggressive there. But again, because the ability is in play, sometimes that's not the best choice. So we're going to have to see whether these players are playing each other or playing the map or just going for, full +4 damage.
It's going to be really fun to see, because it looks like both players are relatively fun to stick to the Ranger. Carnage obviously is going to be on the Ranger, but as well for Ruleth, he's been a big fan of it too, that we've been seeing so far in this series. And back in Carnage's first set when he was playing against Pit, we saw a lot of Dire Orb kills happening on this map as well, because of how the Dire Orb can be used in those clutch situations to get control of the full armor that's kind of perched up on top of the main middle courtyard area. And it often becomes a little bit difficult to get it if you're currently skirting around the bottom of the map. So the Dire Orb can be really clutch in those situations. And like I said, we saw quite a few Dire Orb kills as a result of that. As players got a little bit too aggressive, they tried to jump up just directly from the top level onto that little perch to try and go and get control of the armor, but then ended up getting hit by a Dire Orb and just getting destroyed by it, despite the fact they may have even gotten the armor pickup.
It happens so often, especially here on Blood Run, where the angles on the Dire Orb are fairly manageable. Compared to Corrupted Keep, where you have a lot of vertical play, especially with Ruleth staying on the top tier of the map most of the time, he was really removing himself from that dangerous position for the bulk of it. But when you commit to an armor, when you commit to a mega, your opponent is going to know exactly where you're coming from.
And another interesting factor now as we go over to Blood Run 2 is that Galena pick that we saw back in the first map from Ruleth is now probably almost for certain going to come back in the third map, and we're going to see that one show up quite more prominently on this map as well, because this is the map where Galena can really dominate because of some of those tighter corners and how this map tends to be a little bit more portal heavy because of how quickly you can get around the map by using them.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many good places for Galena totems in Blood Run, and just like you, I'm hoping to see it a little bit more. That might mean seeing Galena come out first for...
I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen him kind of in the back pocket, and unfortunately that hasn't turned into a very long play with the totems just yet. So just for my own personal gratification, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I think it really depends. It's going to come down to Ruleth's own choice of whether he wants to have the mobility of the Ranger to get around quickly and set himself up with a nice stack really quickly, getting, like just trying to get LG, Rockets, and Rails as quickly as possible, or if he wants to sort of set up a perimeter and play more defensively, that's when we would probably see him go over to the Galena pick, because then he can start to cordon off parts of the map and make it a little bit more difficult for Carnage to really shut him down there, as Carnage is going to have to spend time looking at the exits of these portals, constantly going to check that, making sure there's no totem sitting down, and if there is, he's got to fire off rockets that are to destroy him, which is going to constantly give away his position to Ruleth as well. That's another thing that the totems help you out with, is that your opponents have to destroy them unless they want to get hit coming out of portals, and when you destroy them, you're going to have to use some ammo or something like that, which your opponent's obviously going to hear.
And the classic play on Blood Run is once your opponent goes into the lower armor room, they have 3 or 4 places that they could get to fairly quickly, and when you're making a move back into mid for either mega or armor, it's a little bit of a gamble. You really have to keep your ears peeled to find out where they're coming from, and if your opponent is able to trap you there, it could go poorly for you very quickly.
Yeah, this map in general, because it has so many ways to navigate around, it really tests the counter-stratting abilities of these players and how well they're able to read into their opponents. As well, some maps was relatively straightforward pathing to get from one crucial area of the map to another. This one, there's all sorts of ways to get between those areas of the map, so it's really hard to properly predict where your opponent's going. And as I believe Machiavelli was saying earlier when we had him over here on the casting, so you're going to see a lot of players stopping to listen and figure out where their opponents are moving around.
Sometimes we've seen players stop to listen for minutes at a time, but I don't think we're going to see that play out of either Ruleth or Carnage. They've felt each other out, they know what each other's aim is like, and they both have a lot of respect, but at the same time, they know that they want to get these frags in, and they've been pushing forward into a lot of aggressive situations.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, we are going to be jumping into this third map in just a couple of seconds here. Players that were just finishing their warm-up, and I believe it is now pretty much time to leap back into it. So no surprise for Johnson here. We do have the Ranger pick coming out for him. The real question, as we were posturing before, is going to be whether Ruleth was going to start with the Galena or go to the Ranger. It does look like he's going to be starting off on the Ranger, so we're probably going to have a pretty quick fight to start things off here in this third and final map.
Ranger, the first fight for Blood Run is always so random because you can have either player go directly from Mega back up to the armor, vice versa. Both of them throw a Dire Orb onto the Mega itself and end up telefragging each other. But so far, no real harm done here as both of them throw out their Dire Orbs, but are just going to be having to do damage the good old-fashioned way with rockets and rails. And look at this trap. Oh, it's a quick double take, and it's one that leads into 3 shots out of the shotgun, turning into a first frag for Carnage.
Risky, but very aggressive and well-cordoned off play at the end of the day from Carnage there. Great stuff from him. Gets him that first kill. It's still going to be a little bit low here, just trying to track down his opponent into the next fight. He's having problems hitting those rails, though, and actually, this might kill him. Thankfully, the dot expires just in time, but only survives with 28 HP. Usage of the jump pad there, but the problem is that Ruleth is still close to him, so he's still going to know where he's at.
Yeah, he was trying to go for a little bit of a juke there, making sure that he could cross the map safely, and again, he was able to escape back through the teleporter. Ooh, barely dodging that rocket that would have cleanly taken him out. He still doesn't have a rocket launcher here, so Ruleth knows that this is something major to be playing for, but at the same time, he wants to be able to catch Carnage coming out around the corner, and my god, making good use of that railgun, doing 2 90 damage rails in a row. That is going to knock off a lot of that stack, a lot of that advantage that a Sorelike has, and that is going to be one dead dino.
And Ruleth, unfortunately, just leaving himself in the open for way too long. That's 4 rail shots in a row that Carnage hit to get that frag, so just making it too easy for him. He's got the Dire Report if he wants to try and go for a quick chase down on the Ruleth's last character now as he is over to the Galena.
We did finally get Galena, but I'm not sure if we wanted to see it happen just like this. I mean, we're only 1 minute 40 seconds in, and this is 2 frags down on Ruleth. Hopefully for him, he can slow things down a little bit here as Carnage takes away Mega, is moving back through the lower TP and coming back into mid-map, ready for this fight, ready to challenge Ruleth if he wants to show up for this heavy armor. But Ruleth is once again pumping the brakes here a little bit, making sure he's just got all the normal armor in the world. But look at this, a double stack Carnage. He's got a lot of work to do.
The thing I do like about the late pick for Galena to bring it in later rather than like right at the beginning of the map is that it does, if the player is getting dominated that has the Galena, like we're kind of seeing now with Carnage really just controlling this whole situation, Carnage may be lulled into a sort of false sense of security, and he may be more willing to just jump into portals upon it without thinking about, oh wait, I have to work with the totems now. That's another thing that he may not be accounting for here. But anyway, into it, just a straight up LG fight. He tries to switch over to the Rockets, and they actually trade 1-to-1, but obviously Carnage had the huge advantage already. He closes out Ruleth's last remaining champion and is able to take control of that first round.
Coming up that jump pad when your opponent's at the tri-bolt, I mean, it's another one of those situations where it's difficult to get out of. I mean, you can always dive off the platform itself, but that opens yourself up to a lot of damage as well. So as they spawn, Ruleth is actually going to be getting the first play for the rocket launcher this time around, as well as Mega Health. And actually, he was there just in time to potentially get a couple rockets in. Didn't quite make the hits, but he certainly had the right idea. There's the grab for LG as well, coming back up to rocket launcher, denying that item from Carnage, coming back up top map and seeing if his opponent is going to show up on the stairs or maybe even down below.
Ruleth was trying to anticipate a hop around from Carnage there into his hallway. Didn't happen. Did have the right read into the situation, but unfortunately missed the cue and the proper timing for it. So now he's going to end up in a rail fight. Not on the winning end of it, though. He does get tagged quite a bit. Was unable to really return any of that damage. Carnage still sitting with a nice, comfortable full stack over there. You can see his health pool towards the middle top right of the screen. He's got quite a bit more than Ruleth has, because of the fact that he has both control over the Mega Health and the full armor suit as well.
Yeah, having a full stack of the items drift away without doing any significant damage to your opponent is frustrating, but Ruleth is actually still in a pretty good state. After all, he hasn't died yet, he hasn't taken too much damage. He hasn't even revealed his position that much to Carnage, so as he comes back through the teleporter, he's not going to be caught here, and he actually has an opportunity for some nice spam on the Mega. Again, he had the right idea, his timing was good, just the rockets didn't quite find their way to Carnage's face.
Now Carnage does initiate there, getting a little bit of LG damage off. Nothing too significant at the end of the day. And Ruleth was already able to recover from that while still having some of the excess from the suit pickup that he got about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, taking one item away from your opponent who is previously controlling both of them is always a neat feat, especially if you do it without having to take a fight at the same time. But we have Carnage potentially coming up top. Ruleth has got to be looking for the fight here at the Mega. He's spamming up. Carnage is going to know that's not going to be an easy grab, but he's still going to get it, still be able to come back in. And Ruleth will be once again trading off that armor.
Yep, so he's going to be able to take that one, and basically these guys are happy just to trade 1-1 right now. Carnage is looking for another situation where he can dive back in and look to engage here, but Ruleth is focusing almost entirely on holding this corner down below. Some nice rail shots from him, but he is going to be eating up quite a bit of LG damage. Baits his opponent thinking he's going that way, but combining finally the rail shots with some LG work, he is able to get the kill, and Ruleth will start off with the advantage in this round.
A nice illustration of what I was talking about last round there, where, yeah, you can dive off of that platform, but if your timing's off, you're just opening yourself up to a ton of LG. But again, who was expecting 2 rails coming out of Ruleth as Carnage was just taking a nice leisurely stroll down the stairs? It's going to turn into a bit of a slower play here from Ruleth as he's looking for his opponent to come back through teleporter and make a play for armor. In fact, he's not moving at all right now. Is this sneaky, or is he being internet breaky?
Yeah, I believe he disconnected, so we'll have to look to get him back in, of course, there. But Carnage, of course, taking the initial loss on that one, going behind 0-1 on the fight itself. So that was a little bit unfortunate for him. And as we saw some really good, we saw some really good wait out aggression there from Ruleth. And actually, in my opinion, Ruleth took a little bit of risk trying to play with the rails that close up, because if he missed either one of those, he probably loses that fight 9 times out of 10 right there. But thankfully, he hits both of them, is able to delay the fight a little bit because Carnage dies back down, and then finally makes that switch over to the LG where he can hop back in and finish off the kill.
All right, but it looks like we're going to be resolving Ruleth's issues here a little bit. I mean, it is nice being able to play from home, but it's always a risk having somebody tread on your Cat5 cable a little bit.
Yeah, that's a problem. so yeah, Ruleth, we'll have to figure out what exactly went wrong with him there and get him back into the server as quickly as possible. He did kind of just, I had him up on my screen, he did kind of just drop off all of a sudden, so hopefully he hasn't disappeared from the face of the earth, and we can get him back in the server relatively quickly and continue this match and get to see who he's going to be able to move on. This is a dead heat now. This is tied 1-1 in the series. The winner of this map is going to be the one that moves on and takes a slot of Quake on. Loser is going to have to fight a little bit more, as they're going to be bounced down into the lower bracket, where they still have a chance, but they have to do a little bit more fighting in order to make it there.
So we are going to have that round restart there, and this is a point where actually I'm a little bit nervous because we have a break in the match, a match that has been incredibly just really tense either way. I mean, even the Pit and Carnage match, this has been kind of the Team Johnson show so far here, but yeah, we've seen Carnage have to play duel after duel here, and it's got to be grueling. I mean, you can see it's I don't know if you can see this having an effect here, but there's something going on with him. Absolutely. He wasn't quite this dour and serious and focused before, but now he knows what's up against Ruleth. He is providing an excellent fight.
Yeah, so we do have Ruleth back in the lobby now. We just have to restart the match and get everything set up to the way it was before, and then we should be good to jump back into the actual server and get things started. While we are waiting for that, though, we could take another look at the brackets here and see how things have been developing. Of course, for those of you that weren't here earlier, we can already see it. The Hang moved on against Scissor as well, and he was able to take the 2nd slot for North America. Wow. And way down at the bottom, we saw, help me out here, it's actually
Dewey and Gloat had to go face-to-face. I mean, that was going to be a hell of a matchup, and it's one that turned into Dewey moving on forward. Of course, this is still just the upper bracket. Everybody who loses these matches still has an opportunity to place in the final 4 slots available there, and we've had a few of those matches play off as well. We've got Astro Boy and JSO resulting in Astro Boy moving forward, but it's going to be a long road ahead for all these players.
Yeah, absolutely. You still have plenty more fighting to do here for a lot of these guys, including the ones that lose their round of 16 matches here and aren't able to immediately qualify. Like I said before, they have to go down to the lower bracket and they have to fight for 1 or 2 more matches to be able to actually push their way through into QuakeCon. And remember as well, for those players that don't actually manage to make it through here in the qualifying run, they still have a second chance at QuakeCon itself if they're able to make it in through the BYOC.
Provided you can get a seat at the BYOC, yeah. It is definitely a bit of a safety net potentially, but those seats have been very hotly snatched up. But it's also an opportunity for a complete unknown to show up at the BYOC, qualify, and show up in the main tournament.
And I think that's what's really cool about having the BYOC portion, is it does allow for, like you said, someone completely unknown, someone completely new to Quake. He's only played Quake Champions. He hasn't even touched any of the previous versions of Quake. In theory, of course. Not saying this is going to happen, but it's a really cool potential for someone who just grinded out the hours to show up at the LAN and really show his stuff and suddenly make it into the main tournament to play for that $1 million prize pool.
Absolutely, and as anybody could tell you, if you have an opportunity to play against somebody like a Rafa or a DeHang or an Evil or a Cooler, even if you lose, and yeah, you probably are going to lose, it's still a great experience. It teaches you a lot. You get to not just look at these players, but interact directly with them, even if you're at the wrong end of their boomstick.
All right, well, I think we are starting the game again. I think we might have to reset the round itself, so we just have to like replay it in the same way that it went in the previous match itself. So we just have to give, I think Carnage won the first round, right?
Yeah, but this is definitely a fight that Ruleth is bringing a much fiercer opposition than he did in Corrupted Keep. I think both of these players are a little bit dismayed to have this break in the action, but it's also a moment of reflection. You know, Carnage is going to have to go, all right, what am I doing about this Sorlag, who was obviously a real problem here? And even though he was doing the damage and winning a lot of these fights, none of them were easy.
No, not at all, and that was one of the bigger problems is the Sorlag here. That's been one of the mainstays for Ruleth that's been working well for him and has allowed him to consistently stay in this match and fight back on these rounds against Johnson. The first round was a little bit rough. He did a lot better on map 2, and this time he did have the initial advantage, of course, going into round 2 of this map, but that's going to be reset now as we do jump back into it due to the disconnect that Ruleth had. It's been unfortunate, but we do have to reset it and go back into a normal status of things to start off.
But hey, Silver Lining, we are indeed back. And we have Carnage getting started here. Once again, it's going to be Ranger v. Ranger, as they're both kind of fighting over the rocket launcher position. Carnage knows he needs one first, but we've already got Ruleth back here in the stairwell. But my God, this LG coming out of him, absolutely insane. And that is going to turn into a very quick first frag. Taking Ranger off of Carnage is definitely worthwhile.
Well, we go right back to where we were with that one as Ruleth gets the first kill there. So Carnage, was some interesting play for a minute. It looked like he was trying to predict the movements of Ruleth with the tri-bolt there, but it just wasn't really working out. And he realized that far too late when he was already just pushed into a corner with an LG, and there was just no turning that one back around.
And when your opponent's in those stairs, I mean, it's been a classic thing where you think, all right, I've got him. There's no place for him to run. I can do a lot of damage. The tri-bolt, though, as powerful as it is, if you don't make your hits, your opponent can just walk right through it.
Yeah, and that makes the entire weapon a little bit useless there if you're not able to line up the shots properly. It's a very risky weapon.
All right, but as this next fight kind of gears back up here, we've got 2 seconds to Mega. We've got the spam coming from Carnage onto the Mega. Not a lot of it dealt off against Ruleth, and he's looking for the rail on armor. And that's really the opportunity where you go, okay, even though we're trading items, I'm doing the rail on the armor, and my opponent didn't do anything to me. Unfortunately, he didn't quite capitalize on that opportunity, and it's going to turn into a bit of an awkward play here on Rocket Launcher, as both players are going to be leaving it up. Here comes the play through the teleporter, looking for him on the catwalk, looking again for the rail, but these opportunities and potentially lethal rails are not quite connecting just yet.
Carnage still trying to make his own connections here as he looks to lock down the trade frag against Ruleth, but he's been unsuccessful so far. Ruleth still rolling strong on his Ranger across the map, and he's got speed, he's got a great stack built up right now. Skeefing got the extra armor to play off of, so he's got every advantage against Ruleth, who's only just starting to build up his own sort of stack here.
Well, Carnage has managed to evade Ruleth here. Ruleth was looking for him out of the teleporter after grabbing Mega, but it looks like Carnage went completely the opposite direction with that. So as he comes around this corner, Ruleth is trying to play these angles very conservatively. He doesn't want to open himself up completely to the lower hallway. He doesn't want to get pegged by a rail, but he does want to figure out where Carnage is at and whether he's going to be a problem on this armor. Well, there's the spam to keep him off his back, and it's going to be the play on the Mega Health. There's the grab for the Ghost Walk, but that still turns into Ruleth being able to push out forward, knowing that his opponent has expended his ability, and this is all going to be free damage potentially.
Carnage still hopping around as well, trying to dodge Ruleth here for the most part and make sure that he gets consistent pickups. There's still another about 10 seconds till power up spawn again here, but it looks like they may split. Oh, hold on, we'll see. Because Ruleth's going to end up diving back down here. Carnage is pretty much at the in-between point for both of them, so he is trying to restrict his opponent from picking that up. Unfortunately, he's going to miss it, so his opponent is going to be able to get the Mega Health. And now he moves in to try and steal. Nice rocket jump as well from Ruleth, then he follows that up with another one. He even denied his opponent from even being able to pick up the armor, so now Ruleth got that going too. He's got a massive advantage to continue this fight.
And we do have Carnage spawning up as Visor, but you're absolutely right. If you're able to take items off your opponent just as you get the frag, that gives you a lot of momentum moving into the next fight. Now that is momentum that's going to be cut out a little bit by Visor's rockets there, as Carnage is going to be looking for the play from the top. But he doesn't, I don't know if he has a railgun yet. No, he's only got the rockets, no LG, no rails. That means that these fights are going to be incredibly hit and miss with him.
See here now, Ruleth trying to hold on as he finally starts to pick up more of that arsenal, or excuse me, Carnage starts to pick up more of that arsenal to work off of here. Just the rocket still right now, but he should be able to run around and get some more weapons to play off of, but no, still just stuck up in the room right at the moment. The side room where he picks up the small armor.
And right now there's going to be a lot of time before any of these items come back up, and now Ruleth is in a position where he's got the timing pretty well split, and he has the potential to grab both of them for free. We're going to be seeing Carnage pop back through the teleporter. It's now a lot harder to do free damage out of that teleporter exit. The hallway's a little bit wider than it used to be, but now we're going to be seeing some of these rockets flying out of Ruleth as he gets set up for not just the Mega, but the armor as well. But the play with the Dire Orb doesn't quite go his way, and Carnage is ready with him, with a ton of rails and rockets ready to do the damage and steal away the item finally.
Carnage still looking for a way to swipe back in there. Gets a nice little fadeaway rail shot against Ruleth.
he's got to know that he's weak here. Ruleth is definitely on the back foot. He's being really careful with his positioning. He was only able to take away one of the 25 health pickups there. He's still railable. He's still really in the danger zone. And Carnage is going, all right, fine. It's 30 seconds, but let me pick up some items first, and then I'll go plus forward.
As you just mentioned, 30 seconds. That's another problem here for Carnage. To his time is becoming a really big issue for him. He now needs to get 2 kills, essentially 15 seconds to get each kill. So he needs to very quickly move in and try to chase down Ruleth, otherwise this round is not going to happen. And I don't even know if he realizes how dire the time situation is just yet, as he's only just now starting to get aggressive to play into it. It's really not going to leave him an adequate amount enough time. Even if he gets his kill on Ruleth right now, Ruleth still has the time to respawn and everything like that and build up his own stack. So Ruleth's smart. He knows he can just play this out of the timer, so he is going to run away from the fight. And in about 4 seconds, the round will go over to Ruleth, tying us up at 1-1.
Wow, good round indeed, and that was a really tight play. I mean, you saw Ruleth make the dire orb play up to the catwalk, but he couldn't quite get out of that hallway cleanly, so Carnage thought, hey, this is it, this is my moment. Couldn't quite finish him off, though.
So things get back down into an even heat, as they are in the entire series so far. And we're going to jump right back into the action. Both these players actually just going at each other with SMGs in the match as well. So we almost see a kill happen early on, just on the default spawns. But Carnage takes a risk in jumping up to be able to go for control. However, he's able to get a tri-bolt kill. You don't see that very often. Ruleth, he got over aggressive. He tried to chase down the frag. He knew he had Carnage low, but walks right into the triple tri-bolt. And with that, gets absolutely dominated by it.
All right, so still 10 seconds before Mega comes back up, and like you said, I mean, Ruleth has this Ranger taken away almost immediately. Fortunately, though, he can enjoy that Sorlag, and especially if you can take a Mega away with it as well, that gives Sorlag a lot of tanky health for sure. Now we're going to see Carnage getting the grab for the armor and looking for his opponent out of the teleporter. Just a little bit of spam, but we're not seeing Ruleth go for that easy play just yet. In fact, it's just as Carnage is coming around this corner now that we hear him, and Carnage heard him as well, going up for the middle play. But man, he moved through there so fast. He thought that was a spam rocket, not a rocket jump, and that is one that gave him the ability to get the drop on him with the LG.
And so with that, we get traded back out, brought down into another even skirmish, and Ruleth, he's going to bring out the Sorlag now. So this is where Carnage has to worry a little bit. This has been a big problem for him to deal with so far. Carnage does have a slight positional advantage to play off of, but the nice spin right up on top. Unfortunately, Carnage is going to pop off the stealth as soon as he picks up the armor, so that's going to save him from taking most of the damage from the spit.
Really well played, really well timed there. I mean, you have to both make sure that you're not ghost walking before you pick up the armor, but certainly after you get hit by the spit. So well done there. But Ruleth still has an awesome stack here. But in that last fight, we saw Ruleth actually get the complete drop on Carnage, and that can have a lasting effect. It can be really shaking. Fortunately here, this is a little bit more familiar ground. We're just going to rail each other a couple times and then break off. But as you can see, Carnage's Nyx cannot take too much of that.
Nice rails coming in from Ruleth. Unfortunately, he got hit quite a bit by the rails too, so he's going to find himself relatively low. Carnage still slightly lower, but he has armor to play off of too, so he's also sitting in a pretty okay spot. And Carnage with a rail out of nowhere, it seems, just comes in and destroys Ruleth's second champion, bringing him down just to the Galena now.
Yeah, that ledge overlooking that teleporter has gotten a little bit thicker over the years, as we've seen multiple variations on this map, and it allows much more in terms of ambushes. And there we go, a beautiful shot from the Nyx from the shadows is going to take him down.
Nicely played by Carnage. Knew his opponent didn't really have anywhere to run, so tucked away in the corner off the stealth pop, was able to use that to close out. 2-1 now. He goes up to series point. Just one more round is needed, and he'll earn that ticket to QuakeCon.
And you can see the focus on his face here. He knows how close he is to just putting this one in the bag. I think this has been a stressful enough matchup for him that going to a third map is not appealing, but Ruleth maybe can push this thing forward.
Well, Carnage is going to continue to play slowly here. We got the armor pickup initially. Ooh, we got hopped by that rocket though, so it takes quite a bit. And now he's got the Dire being pushed back in. Nice little swipe rail shot. Doesn't have what he needs to actually take the port on that Dire Orb though, and actually continue the fight back over towards the rocket room.
Ruleth has a very, very slight advantage here, and even that one evaporates as Carnage is able to take away some 25s. As items are coming up, we have the rail taken away, and my god, a really aggressive play here out of Ruleth, taking the Dire Orb, taking away the armor, and taking the frag as well.
Ruleth wins out the initial fight there, so he's going to be able to get the advantage starting off. Just barely wins it too. Thankfully recovers his health pretty quickly. Carnage had a great amount of damage being spammed on Ruleth, but just wasn't enough to complete the frag, so Carnage goes down first, and now he's back over to the visor for his second champion. He's already popped the ability on it too, so that's gone on cooldown. That's one of the longer cooldowns as well, so it might have been better to save that for a more clutch situation, but at the very least, now he instantly knows where his opponent is and can start to track his movements a little bit better.
Yeah, the name of the game for Ruleth so far has been to make sure that Carnage loses track of your position and then going for the trap, and that's been the most consistent and repeatable thing here for Ruleth, but this is a bit of a slog of a fight over this armor. Both of them are spamming off against it, but oh no, Ruleth missing that Dire Orb. arm. Can't even get the grab on the rail, jeez. Oh man. That's not a fun play for Ruleth, and you can see him looking left and right going, oh, where do I go now? But he finds out very quickly, is able to get 1, 2 rails in, and that puts Carnage immediately in a bad spot.
Carnage has, unfortunately, a bad kid, and he's wondering why he's trying to spam at that range with a nail, but he only has rockets to play off of right now. He doesn't have LG or rails picked up just yet, so unfortunately, he really has no choice but to try and work with the nails or just rockets at that range, and he chose the nails in that situation. Ended up eating 2 rail shots too, and now another one connecting against him. It's going to put him in the hot seat. Ruleth is choosing to pursue the armor for right now. He's going to bypass him, just going for the direct kill. Now he can dive back in. He's got the ultimate advantage, and it's easy to finish off the remaining health pool on Carnage there with just the LG used.
Now we're just down to a Nyx to put this match in the bag and put Carnage forward to Quake on. But we're going to be seeing Ruleth again, just bringing out an incredible amount of consistent control and calm as he's trying to push this into a tiebreaker.
Well, Carnage is going to have to be a little bit careful here now, as this is his last champion. He has to turn around a 1v3. He has to do all the work on this one champion, or take it to a 5th and final round to define it, and potentially risk losing that spot to Ruleth now if he's able to take that 5th and final round to complete the reversal. Opt for Carnage here. Unfortunately, he misses that initial rail shot and gets bounced by it too. Now he's down to 20 HP, trying to return some of that damage on the Ruleth. Pops the stealth. His opponents see him. He definitely should have seen the cloud. It's all about figuring out where exactly he goes after that one. Carnage really just trying to dodge some rail shots. He's doing good at it, but he's not returning any damage after the fact.
That had to make Carnage sweat, knowing that your opponent's looking right at you while you're invisible and you're about to run out of it. But fortunately for him, Ruleth looked right when he should have looked left, and that allows Carnage an ability to escape out of there and at least survive a little bit longer here. But it's still Ruleth keeping control of the main items and really just running the entire map, looking for a way to get in on this Nyx and do a ton of damage.
Carnage once again looping around here. He's got control over the top. He heard the port go through, so was able to predict that rocket connecting just a little bit onto Ruleth there, not a massive amount. He now goes down to the rocket room himself here to wait for some of these spawns to come back up. The stealth pop, where's he gonna go with this one? Wanted, I think, to try and get aggressive here, chase down his opponent in the next room, but he heard him coming from a mile away as that stealth expired way before the fact. Still getting good damage in though from Carnage here. As you can see, Ruleth being brought down relatively low. He's now gonna pop up on top, and there you go, the dive in and take down Carnage. And it's Ruleth that steals the 4th round, tying us up again into a dead heat, 2-2 on to round number 5.
That was a fantastic play. There are a lot of things you can do with the Dire Orb to make sure that you can get some items and reposition to get something first before you commit to the teleport, but he was able to get both of those 25s before getting the grab for the armor, and he immediately turned that play into diving down and finishing off Carnage there. So, like you said, it comes down to this final round.
Carnage trying his best to stay alive here, but he's on the ropes already. 22 HP, he's using the blood pool to get most of his health back right now, but oh, turns around the wrong moment, so Ruleth is going to be able to walk right into the Mega Health room, steal that first kill away. Now it's Ruleth that's on the path to a seat at QuakeCon.
Oh man, things have got to be getting tense for not only Carnage, but the entirety of Team Johnson here, as they are going to be doing a ton of duels today. But Ruleth taking a little bit of damage, able to take away Mega Health as it's traded off with the armor. We have that Ghost Bot coming out of that Nyx. Nice response on the rail as well. That immediately makes Ruleth not quite as stacked up as he was a second ago here, but he's able to escape through the teleporter. They might even clash here back at the upper armor room, but no, it looks like Carnage doesn't want any part of that fight.
Carnage can't even chase that through the portal. Unfortunately, he's way too switched. He's way too big of a risk. Nice hop. Now he just needs to complete the kill here. He's got it close, and there you go. He's going to be able to hit that and just barely survive the encounter. Nicely played from Carnage. Trades it back. We go into it 2v2, and he's quickly trying to get back into action versus the Sorlag. It's a short-lived play there. Just wanted to see if he can get a quick fadeaway rail and then quickly back down to that one.
All right, but here comes the Ghost Walk, and it's going to be used aggressively to try to pick up this armor, but it's going to be an armor taken away by Ruleth, and coming over the top, that is a nasty rocket that Carnage just ate here. He's still looking to do the damage. He's still in this fight, but he's going to be missing that Sorlag rail. And I'm sure he's going to be looking for at least a natural stack before he commits to the next one here. He's still got a little bit of that Mega left over, but it does not take much to take down a Nyx here. We've got Mega once again taken. A little bit of delay on the spine, and here comes potentially Rockets, but a nice defensive rail to keep Ruleth, plus backing his way back over towards Rocket Launcher.
And now Carnage leaping through, gets himself through the portal there, and is hopping over towards the other side so that he can pick up the armor. Got that going at least. Finally, he was able to steal that away from Ruleth, and now he's got both. So he's stacked up here now. Unfortunately for him, Ruleth is also still stacked up, so he needs to find a way to whittle off some of his HP before he can really dive back into the fight.
Yeah, and chewing through the stack of a Sorlag is no easy feat. I mean, we're going to need to see some really great LG play coming out of Carnage here. It's going to need to be a trap as well, but there's the LG, there's the play on the Mega Health. It's going to be a Sorlag getting the grab for it, as he's just got to look and see that opportunity slip through his fingers. It was still a good reaction. He didn't die there, but you can see how everything was set up well for him. But again, really good responses, really good reactions out of Ruleth.
So Carnage being forced away once more. He wants that armor pickup.
And who could blame him? I mean, it's just something you want to keep out of that Sorlag's hands. I mean, again, it doesn't last very long in the hands of Nyx, but making sure that Sorlag is not going to be this 200-200 monster on the map, absolutely worthwhile. But here comes a bit more spam. Both of them are going to be revealing their position a little bit here. As Mega comes back up, and it's going to be deja vu here all over again. Maybe Carnage has a better plan. Oh no, it's going to be Ruleth changing things up, going up the stairs instead of through the teleporter, and that is going to cost him, making this Galena his last chance to go to QuakeCon.
And Ruleth made the poor choice there, like you said, just to not go into the portal, because Carnage never seemed like he wanted to actually chase that kill through the portal because of how risky it was. If Ruleth went through the portal, he might have been able to stay alive just because of the fact that Carnage may have not chosen to chase him through it. I think in that situation, Carnage may have actually decided to go through just because he knew how close he was and he knew he had a really good advantage against his opponent there. But still, now backed out, and he's going to move back in. He wants to complete this now. He's got that Galena down to about 25 HP. One or two more shots will do the job.
One rail would have done the job there against Ruleth, but he's able to throw down a totem, get a little bit of recovery, and get back up to the upper armor room. And even though that armor is incredibly loud, your opponent's going to know you're up there. It's not something you really want to push in on. So this is going to be something that Carnage is going to be leaving up for the moment, making sure that his stack is just fine, and he's ready for this next fight. Maybe even going a little bit silent here and hoping to get that first rocket.
He knows that Ruleth swiped around the other side of the hallway there. He's able to get a little bit of damage going. Not a whole lot. Carnage still has the virtue of having both the power-ups under his control. And actually, the Mega Health's just been sitting down here for quite a long time. He's going to be able to pick that up. Without much of a split on it. Now he's going to go back upstairs quickly, though. It's going to be a bit of risky if he doesn't choose to do that. Thankfully, he's got great control over the situation. And Ruleth is really nowhere to be found at the moment. Carnage is able to easily walk through both of these power-ups and get them both back-to-back.
That totem would have been a huge problem for Carnage if he wasn't already ghost walked. So good read there, good play, and that is once again going to give him item control as we see Ruleth's Galena sort of stuck at a natural stack, but now there's not a whole lot to play for until this next Mega comes back up, and even then, it's not going to give either of them a huge advantage. It's going to be all about this first fight, and neither of them really wants to dive down before knowing where their opponents are at.
Carnage, he knows he's got Ruleth on the run here. He's got to be careful not to play too passively, otherwise it could cost himself. And again, he's in the stealth there just to be super careful when he goes through these portals. It does give it away for a later fight, but thankfully he's no longer going up against the Sorlag, so he doesn't need it as much for those emergency situations anymore. You're noticing he was almost completely countering out the spit every time it was used back when Ruleth was on the Sorlag there as a result of that one. Important note as well, the timer with only 5 seconds remaining. Carnage is going to be able to win it out via this, so he does sit back, chooses to hide this one out, and via the timer, it's going to be Carnage that takes the map. 3-2, and he'll earn his slot at QuakeCon.
I don't want to say I'm disappointed by going to the timer. I mean, obviously, Carnage is not disappointed at all. I mean, he's exuberant, but that was really well played. He had to make sure that he was keeping all of those stack items away from Ruleth as long as possible. And when you're Nyx, I mean, unless you have the Ghost Walk, it's not all that easy.
Well, it took Johnson a while to qualify, of course, for this actual qualifier event here at the Los Angeles studio, but while he was here, he made it through relatively quickly, pushing himself straight through into the upper bracket and taking control, so I'm sure he's happy about his performance there. It was close at the end of it on map number 3, but thankfully took a dominant stance in the 5th and final round, was able to take quick control of things, just running it down to the timer. So with that said, folks, we are going to pass it over to our analyst now to break down this match.
Okay, right away, thank you, Blue. Now, with you, Machiavelli, check this out. Carnage comes in here today, already, took his time getting through the qualifiers, did get here. Had a round of 32 match earlier this morning, grabs it, nails the round of 16, now he's going to QuakeCon.
How exciting for Carnage. I know it's been a hard-fought road for him. He's worked very hard. Ruleth is going to move down to loser bracket, obviously. He gave a good account for it, push Carnage to the limits, but it's all about Carnage right now. He's going to the big show. So good luck to Carnage, congratulations, and we'll look forward to seeing more of him at the big event in QuakeCon.
Definitely, you see him fired up over there. Let's talk a little bit about his approach in this matchup, so to say. What is there to say about his play style?
He is calculated aggression, I guess, is some of the things, because there are some things Carnage does that for me personally, I don't, maybe it's because my lack of ability or what have you, I wouldn't do the same thing that he does, but he has an uncanny ability to really push some engagements and really force people into bad situations, and he hits some great shots along the way. He's just a talented player, and I think the biggest challenge for Carnage individually is himself. I think just keeping his emotions cool and making sure he stays consistent and plays within himself. I think